You're not white though, you're black.
My father is white though.
Okay, but to me, your mother's
But that's not
black.
about you. It's about me.
Because I've always considered myself a black woman, but I was born in Puerto Rico and I speak Spanish. My first language is Spanish. But that doesn't take away from the fact when I walk in the building, people look at me and they say, that is a black woman, right?
So Joseline Hernandez has been in the news lately because Amber Rose decided to promote the Republican Party, and people are trying to double back saying Joseline was right as far as Amber Rose wanting to be white and not recognizing that she's actually black. But the fact of the matter is Amber Rose is a biracial woman, and according to Joseline Hernandez, so is she. But how does she really identify on paper? Is y'all ready to talk about it? Let's Joes.
Come on, Blaze.
It's a beef for me.
Wow, 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 wow. For your guy, for your B-O-Y. Drop it for your guy, for your B-O-Y. Do it for your guy, for your B-O-Y. Come on, baby, we live.
What's up, y'all? It's your girl Voodoo Doll TV, bank with a quick little jokes or whatever the case may be. And we're going to talk about Joseline Hernandez and how everybody's trying to make her out to be some sort of hero because she called out Amber Rose for basically saying that she's denying her blackness, when the fact of the matter is Amber Rose is a biracial woman. And that simply means Amber is a mixture of two different races. I don't understand why some people have a hard time accepting that. I know there's this whole one drop rule thing that has been going around the community for years and years and years. But like I keep telling you guys, that was never put there to tell us who was actually black. It was just to keep the white race pure. But even so, it doesn't matter because science dictates that Amber Rose will be considered a biracial woman because she has a father from one race and a mother from another. Now, Joseline has been on Amber's tail for a long, long time, telling Amber, oh, you're ashamed to be black. That's the problem. You want to be white. The problem is you want to be white. You want to be white. That's the problem. The problem you want to be white. But the fact of the matter is, what I found is that Hispanics, like Joseline Hernandez, who's the pro-black Hispanic leader, I guess we have now in America, she identifies as white on her paperwork. Now, a lot of you guys are going to say, well, that doesn't make sense. She's obviously a black woman. If you look at her, she's phenotypically black. And I can tell you, I 100% wholeheartedly agree with you. But you have to understand, to be classified as white on any important government documentation is a status, not a color. Color is a social construct. Race is a social construct. But the status of white on driver's license, on any type of court records, on anything that you do is a status thing. So it does not matter the color of your skin. It's all about the status. And what I found is research, the Latin community has been coming over to America since the 1800s, and they have been fighting for a lot of rights. And one of those rights were the right to identify as white. We're going to get into this. This is going to be deep. I want to show you guys receipts. I don't like just saying, I like to show you guys receipts. So we're going to get into those receipts. But before we do that, what I want to do is get into some sound bites of Joseline Hernandez telling everybody, hey girl, I'm black, I'm black, I'm bliggity black. Let's get into it.
Because I've always considered myself a black woman, but I was born in Puerto Rico and I speak Spanish. My first language is Spanish. But that doesn't take away from the fact when I walk in the building, people look at me and they say, that is a black woman, right? And so I've always been cool and love to be a black woman.
Yeah.
And they be like, Afro-Latina. No, bitch. I don't have an afro. I don't have an afro. And I am a black woman that was born in the island of Puerto Rico that speaks Spanish. And I teach my daughter.
You're going to confuse the shit out of somebody right now, but go ahead.
But why?
Because you're Puerto Rican.
I am Puerto Rican, but I back to the HBCU. In the HBCU, you know what I learned? I learned that the Puerto Ricans, the people that were born in Puerto Rico that were black too, and back in those days, they were definitely Afro-Latinos because they all used to wear, the big hair. Yeah. But the black African American and the Puerto Ricans, they were tight. When they were trying to do everything with the freeing the Negro and stuff like that. That's the stuff that I learned at the HBCU in Alabama. Yeah. They were kind of telling us how the black Spanish and the black African American came together, and they were so much tighter than we actually are now.
Yeah.
But me, I
So we have
consider
some, a lot of the
myself
same cultures.
Yeah, I consider myself a black woman that was born in Puerto Rico. Yes, I'm Latina because hablo español. Of course, I speak Spanish and I'm Latin. But for me, it's more than just saying that. For me, it's just that I'm proud to be black, whether I'm Spanish or not.
You're not white though. You're black.
My father is white, though.
Okay, but to me, your mother's.
But
your
that's
mother's
not
black.
about you. It's about
but
me.
It is about me when I feel like saying what the fuck I want to say. You can't check me on that. And if you go and check me, then check me.
Okay. I checked you. I'm checking you now.
But you not, because I don't give a fuck about how you feel.
Well, I don't give a fuck either then, because I can say the same thing about you.
I don't consider you a white person. So that's the thing.
But it's not about what you consider. That's the whole point.
You mix like me. You mix like me. You mix like me. You mix like me. You mix like. You know what's your problem? Your problem is that you really want to be a white girl. She's conflicted with her blackness. See, when I was growing up, I chose to be black. See, when I was growing up, I chose to be black. See, when I was growing up, I chose to be black. I was born in Puerto Rico, a Spanish-speaking place, so I'm a black Hispanic.
She black. Her mama black. She got a big black pussy. We all do. That's black up in here. And she just don't want to be black. But
why do you say
this
that?
is nothing I'm saying. She said this on camera before. Why is everybody so shocked that I said it, you know?
But no, why do you? Because you called her a Karen.
She's definitely a Karen.
What makes her a Karen?
She don't like to be black. She got black children, and you should hear some of the things that come out of this white lady's mouth.
All right, so you guys heard those clips. Joseline is according to her, a proud black Latina. She considers herself a black girl. She's gotten back and forth into it with Amber Rose about her identity. I think that it's unfair for anybody to tell a biracial person that they're only one race when obviously they're a mixture of two. But ultimately, she has been on this pro-black, I'm black, you're ashamed of your blackness type tease. And I found it interesting because I'm like, I've never heard Joseline so pro-black. So I ran across this video and I kind of wanted to share it with you guys. Check it out.
I just am Hispanic people. Porque no piensan que yo hablo español, pero yo soy puertorriqueña de Carolina, papi. Del caserío. Del caserío. So, she's not, I'm Spanish. Oh, she's not, I'm Spanish. Oh, she's not, I'm Spanish.
Yeah.
I'm just hood. What's wrong with that?
There's nothing
I'm still
wrong
a lady, but
yes.
I can get gutter.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying? But I'm 100% Puerto Rican. But I'm 100% Puerto Rican. But I'm 100% Puerto Rican.
And I am a black woman that was born in the island of Puerto Rico that speaks Spanish. And I am a black woman that was born in the island of Puerto Rico that speaks Spanish. I am a black woman that was born in the island of Puerto Rico that speaks Spanish.
So it's like Puerto Ricans, Colombians, Venezuelans, Mexicans, whatever, we don't have a voice. I'm that voice though, and I got this. I'm that voice though, and I got this. I'm that voice though, and I got this.
And I am a black woman that was born in the island of Puerto Rico that speaks Spanish.
Alrighty, so you guys heard that, and why is this important? Because a lot of people has been able to cosplay and double dutch in and out of our culture, and just because we share skin tone or melanin, we believe that these people are genuinely who they are. And the fact of the matter is, a lot of people, not all, but a lot of people are cosplaying to their advantage to gain any and everything they can from the culture. Then once they've sucked the culture dry, they leave with their riches, and we're stuck holding the bag per usual. Joseline Hernandez has never identified as a black woman until recently, but ultimately she has been riding this black woman trope like crazy, and black people just don't see it. Black American people in particular, as I call you guys Acorn, we just don't understand that people are playing in our face. It's almost like we're a glutton for punishment. Like we want our face to be played in at this point. Now, I know somebody in the audience is saying, but Voodoo, she's black. She's obviously a black girl. I'm looking at her. She looks like a black girl. Again, when it comes to this whole thing about race, as far as documentation, it is a status, not a color. I tell everybody all the time, race is a poor man's game. For instance, let's pull up Joseline Hernandez's arrest record and see what she says there. So now, according to Joseline Hernandez's arrest record, she is classified as white. Now, some people will say, well, Voodoo, maybe the officers wrote that on here. And I would say I would have to challenge you on that, because if you can look at Joseline Hernandez and see a phenotypically black woman, why would a clear person or even a black person look at her and mark her down as W or as for white? You know what I mean? The thing is, they understand that the Latinas and the Latinos who came in the 1800s were sold a dream and told that they will be classified as white and enjoy all the riches and luxuries of the so-called white person here in America, but they got here and they were fooled. But they ultimately fought for their right to be white, which is why Joseline Hernandez puts white under her race as it pertains to anything important as far as documentation. Now, I know a lot of people are not going to believe me, so what I like to do is come with the facts and the evidence to prove what I am telling to you. Let's get into it. So I would like to start by saying this. The very thing that Americans have on their side that hardly any other country in the world has is a thing called documentation. Most of that documentation happens by way of the census and other government records, right? So the census tells a long story of history about what was going on in America in the past, in case anybody was confused. So let's start with the Latin community, right? So what I did was pull up some information that's basically going to talk about what was going on when these people first got here and how they gained the status of white. Mind you, this is regardless if the person presents as white or black in the physical. I'm talking about the status of white for the Latin community. We're going to get into it. So what I did was I went to the internet, obviously, and I went and pulled up npr.gov, and this is what they had to say. It says, on the history of Hispanic on the census questionnaire. It says, in 1930, Mexican was put on the census questionnaire as a race. This was during the Depression, and it was a time period when the government was rounding up people. They used the census in the 1940s to locate Japanese Americans for the internment camps, so people didn't want to be identifiable on the census because they were afraid of the government. Mind you, this is what the story is saying from npr.gov. So they're saying a lot of people didn't want to be identifiable because they were throwing people in camps, such as the Japanese Americans, right? But it gets deeper. Let's get into it. It says in 1929, the League of the United Latin American Citizens, also known as the LULAC, a Mexican American organization formed in Corpus Christi, Texas. One of their main organizing efforts were to get Mexican off the 1930 census. They protested, "We are a white race, we are Americans." The Mexican government itself protested the category because the entire Southwest used to be part of Mexico. And when it was taken over by the United States, they promised Mexico that the Mexican residents there would be treated as full citizens. Well, at the time, you had to be white to be a citizen. So that's where the whole issue came about of Mexicans specifically identifying as legally white, but socially non-white. Okay, that's very important. This is why they can cosplay and play black like Joseline Hernandez. It goes on to say it worked against them in some ways because they claim segregation and discrimination. The parties being accused of discrimination could say, well, no, you're white. It says, so this history of claiming whiteness has been a strategy that Mexican Americans and other Latino groups have used to try to lobby for acceptance. It also says the LULAC and the Mexican government successfully had Mexican removed from the census questionnaire. After 1930, there have never been another Latino group listed as a race on it. In 1970, the Hispanic origin question was first introduced on the census long form, which is an extended questionnaire that goes out to about 1 in 6 households. And then finally, in 1980, the Hispanic identity question appears on all of the forms. It used to come after the race question. They later moved it before the race question because it was one of the most unanswered forms on the census. If you ask people their race, I'm white or I'm black, and they would get the next question, are you Hispanic? They would say, I already answered this, and they would skip it. So that's why we have them the way they are and the way they're ordered. And importantly, Latinos can be a variety of racial backgrounds. I need you guys to pay attention. People can be Afro-Latino and be white and be Latino, and there are a whole lot of Latinos who are brown. So there's the issue of not wanting to be racialized, and there's the racial diversity of Latinos themselves. So what they're saying is no matter your skin color, you can be marked as white on any documentation that will give you certain privileges that other so-called Afro-Latinos or black people would not receive in this country. It's not about your skin color. It's literally about a status that the Latinos fought for in the 1930s. Let's move on. This goes on to say, this bears out in the data we have available, the U.S. Census, flawed as though it is. Remember that the census asks 2 questions for race and ethnicity. First, it asks if a person is of Hispanic, Latino, or Spanish origin. Then it asks one to mark your race, where there is no option for Latino. Many people who mark yes to the first question go on to mark other for race or black, Native American, and every other racial option. And nationwide, about 53% of people who mark yes for Hispanic, Latino, or Spanish origin go on to check the box for white. However, in South Texas, the percentage of people who mark white is much, much higher. In Zapata County, for instance, 94% of people marked Hispanic or Latino on the latest census, and over 98% of all residents marked white. That means that Zapata County simultaneously is one of the most Latinx and also one of the whitest counties in the United States. This is very important because we have a huge Latin community that is literally putting that they're white on the census. And this is why this number is fluctuating as far as the white status people. And this is why people are able to do what Joseline is doing, is basically say that she's culturally black, or not even culturally, socially black, to take advantage of all the things that we have. But ultimately, she's not getting treated like a black person because she's marking white on the census. Now, I also wanted to share the Latinx population by state. As you can see, Latin Americans have lived in what is now the United States since the 16th century. In the early 1800s, when the United States annexed Florida, Louisiana, and the northern half of Mexico, more than 100,000 Spanish-speaking residents became U.S. citizens. The 1850 U.S. Census, taken shortly after the conquest of Mexico, counted more than 80,000 former Mexicans, 2,000 Cubans and Puerto Ricans, and another 20,000 from people from Central and South America. Today, the descendants of those 1850 citizens are part of the Latinx American population that has grown enormously. As of 2017, more than 58 million Americans claim Latin American heritage. Now, this is important. First of all, we're finding out that they were coming over in the 1600s. A lot of these people were actually going into the so-called Native American status too, but that's a story for another day. This is the thing. All these people were coming over, and it was all because there's another population of the actual European white population who was going down in numbers. The flooding of the migrants then and now is purposely done. It is done because that population of people are not gonna last long. If you do not believe me, I want to get into this video. So shortly after Joe Biden was elected as president, he sat down with our so-called black leaders, which I don't trust none of them. Actually, one of those women don't even look black, but that's another story. So Joe Biden and Kamala Harris sat down with our so-called black leaders, and they were discussing things that the so-called black American need as far as, for this presidency. Mind you, they haven't spoken to any of us, but that's neither here nor there. They were talking to him, and I guess because of the things they were asking him for, he kind of got a bit overwhelmed and started being really stern to these people. And he had some words to the so-called black Americans. Basically, what he says is, by 2040, the so-called white European will almost not exist, and that the so-called black American is going to have to get along with the so-called Latin American. Y'all take a look at this.
But I always take responsibility. When I get it wrong, I acknowledge I got it wrong. But my overarching objective, if we cannot make significant progress on racial equity, this country is doomed. It is doomed, not just because of African American. It is doomed, not just because of African American. It is doomed not just because of African Americans, but because by 2040, This country is going to be minority white European. Hear me? Minority white European. And you guys are going to have to start working more with Hispanics, who make up a larger portion of the population than y'all do in terms of raw numbers. We're going to have to be working with a whole group of people that, in fact, are the single most diverse democracy in American history and anywhere in the world. And we got to figure out how to unify this country. And you've been the leaders of being able to do that. Not a joke. And so there's some things that I'm going to be able to do by executive order. I'm not going to hesitate to do it. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to do what used to, Vanita, you probably used to get angry with me during the debates, when you'd have some of the people you were supporting said, on day one, I'm going to executive order to do this. Not within the constitutional authority. I am not going to violate the Constitution.
All right, so y'all heard Joe Biden, and let me touch on a few things he talked about. First of all, the minority being the white European in 2040, I think it's already here. But let's just go with 2040 for Joe Biden, right? I'll agree with that. Secondly, us having to get along with the Latinos and the Latina and the Hispanic community is simply a pipe dream. It's just not going to go the way that these people are saying it's going to go. And I believe that they know that. That is why they're saying what they are saying. And one last thing I want to say about this conversation is Joe Biden got on here and said that basically they will outnumber us. Black American people, FBA, whatever you want to call yourself, Acorn, that is the furthest thing from the truth. They've been telling us we've been the minority for how long? And now all of a sudden they'll be the minority by 2040. I think they already are. But ultimately, don't believe that. You've never been the minority on your own land. You've always been the majority. Now, I wanted to switch gears. So they're saying, just get used to it. You guys are going to have to work with these people. Let's get into how this has been working so far, because they've been taking all our resources and giving it to these so-called people. Let's take a look.
The debate comes as the city deals with a crisis of where to put migrants bussed in from the border.
Elizabeth Matthews is live now with more. Elizabeth. Corey and Don, contentious to say the least. This forum was a chance for city leaders to get input from the public about the old South Shore High School housing migrants. The city got their input.
A packed house at the South Shore International College Prep High School. The crowd voicing their opinion, strongly opposing the addition of migrants in their community.
I am just outraged. I'm outraged, and I don't understand why our community was chosen.
City representatives saying the old South Shore High School would not be a shelter, but one of 3 respite centers for the migrants to temporarily sleep, eat, and take a shower, starting with about 250 people taking up the building's first floor. This is a way for the city to get the current 300 migrants out of the police stations. Questions were asked, but answers hard to hear, interrupted by the upset crowd. Before the meeting, a small protest of South Shore neighbors demanding the energy put into the migrant issue be put into their neighborhoods.
It is a slap in the face that we as citizens of the United States of America do not have the resources and support, but you're going to bring people who are not citizens here in our community, in our buildings that we pay taxes for, that you took away from us. Yeah. That is completely unacceptable. We are in a humanitarian crisis right now. The black people in Chicago are bleeding on the streets.
Mayor-elect Brandon Johnson had this to say about the migrant crisis.
We have a responsibility to make sure that families who are seeking love and support here in the city of Chicago and throughout the state of Illinois, that they are not just welcome, but they are serviced.
So you guys saw that. And let me say this before I leave you guys with a quick video. We're looking at it on a social level, like, oh my God, Joseline is just, she is a black woman who happened to speak Spanish, or she's a black Puerto Rican, or whatever you want to label Joseline as. But Joseline is a bigger issue. Joseline is one of those people who are here cosplaying as black. She's socially accepted as black. She uses the N-word. She's able to do a whole lot of things, not just her, Cardi B, a whole bunch of these girls. And then all of a sudden, when it's time for paperwork or actual documentation, these people are not classified as black. They are classified as white, so much so they even fought for the right to classify themselves as white, because there's something inside of these people that knows being classified as black is not a good thing. So it is in my opinion that Joseline has no higher ground or moral ground to judge Amber Rose, because she said, according to her, I'm mixed too. She is also a person cosplaying in the culture. Both of those girls are foreigners. Now I want to leave you guys with a piece of this live I done where we were talking about this whole race thing and how black people need to stop holding on to making people want to be black, because ultimately what they're doing is saying that they're black to you, but they're classifying themselves as white on paperwork. I'm going to leave you guys with this video, and I really would like to hear what you have to say about this. Drop down in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, follow me on all platforms. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe and that notification bell. And I'll see y'all down in the comments. Bye. If she just don't want to be black and she mixed like you, why you don't want to be black? Race, white. Female, sex, female. Hold on. Get Lord Jamar back up here. What happened, Lord Jamar and his partner?
The whole thing was started by when in the 70s, when the Puerto Ricans came to New York, they believed that they were going to be a part of the great white America.
Oh my God, the same way with the Mexicans. When Puerto Ricans came to New York City in the 70s in larger numbers, Latinos was marking white on the census. They wanted to be accepted amongst white society. But the difference with Puerto Ricans is you had some of them who were black. What did I tell y'all about the Mexicans on the West Coast when they fought for the right to be white? They
Listen to me and listen to me good. Don't think about skin color. They got Africans who check white. White is a status, not a skin color. It's only a skin color to broke poor people. White is not a skin color. White is a status. White is a status. White is a status. White is a status. So while we got Joseline over here dragging Amber, saying, what the problem? You don't want to be white? You don't want to be white? What the problem? What the problem? You don't want to be white? You don't want to be black? The problem is you don't want to be black. That's the problem. The problem is you don't want to be black. You don't want to be black. That's the problem. That's the problem. Well, Joseline, who put the W on your paperwork? Who put the W on your paperwork, Joseline?
The whole thing was started by when in the 70s, when the Puerto Ricans came to New York, they believed that they were going to be a part of the great white America.
Oh my God, the same way with the Mexicans. When Puerto Ricans came to New York City in the 70s in larger numbers, Latinos was marking white on the census. They wanted to be accepted amongst white society. But the difference...
I need you to hear this. The government didn't put that down. They fought for the status of white. When the Puerto Ricans came to New York, they thought they were going to be treated like the white folks. They got here and the white folks put them on top of them Negroes, and they fought for the status of white. It's not about color. Because when you see the darkest African pick white, you're going to look crazy. It ain't got nothing to do with color. It's a status thing. So if they fought for the opportunity to say they white, and Joseline on her record says that she's white, then 1 + 1 = 2, bitch. What are we talking about? Now we got the phenotypically black looking Afro-Latina on here battling the half and half biracial girl, as we call her, Amber Rose, telling y'all, and y'all, listen, it's a joke. It's a big ass joke. Everybody in on it, but you, Duck Duck Goose. Everybody knows what's going on except Black American people. We the only ones don't get it. That's why people like Joseline could come in the culture and cosplay, and that's the problem. She don't want to be black. That's the problem. She don't want to be black. I chose to be black. She don't want to be black. That's the problem. That's the problem. That's the problem. But whole time she telling you, Amber scared of being black or ashamed of being black. But what she check on her paperwork? Let me play it one more time for the people in the bike, how they fought to have the status of white.
The whole thing was started by when in the 70s, when the Puerto Ricans came to New York, they believed that they were going to be a part of the great white America.
Oh my God, the same way with the Mexicans. When Puerto Ricans came to New York City in the 70s in larger numbers, Latinos was marking white on the census. They wanted to be accepted amongst white society. But the difference with Puerto Ricans is you had some of them who were black. What did I tell y'all about the Mexicans on the West Coast when they fought for the right to be white? They fought to be legally white. They did it. All Latinos fought to be legally white. They did. They did the same thing on the East Coast. The Puerto Ricans fought to be white at one point. The Mexicans on the West Coast fought to be white. I'm not making this up.
So when you see the W under race on Joseline Hernandez paperwork, that's earned. Her people fought for that right. When her people come here off the boat, they fought to have the right to be white. But this is the girl who's going to tell another girl who, in her words, I'm mixed too, I'm mixed too, I'm mixed too. This is the girl who's going to tell the other, this is a biracial girl, according to Joseline, because she said, I'm mixed too, I'm mixed too. This is the biracial girl telling another biracial girl she afraid to be black or she ashamed to be black, but on her paperwork, she don't mark no nigga. Look what she put. Now, I know you may be a fan of Joseline's cabaret. Maybe you like, do it for my B-Day, baby. Do it like it's my B-Day. I don't know what it is that got you in a chokehold like this. But wake your duck ass up, because these people been playing in your face for a long time. But y'all not ready for that conversation. But what I'm trying to get you to understand is this.
It's all y'all's fault. Y'all messed up the family. Can't you see that?
Mr. Carroll, how you give the voodoo doll time to talk? I don't get no fucking time to talk.
Who the voodoo doll is?
The nigga you just had up here.